To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Sale. Benjamin Parker had been deployed in Eastern Europe for 8 months when the call came through his encrypted satellite phone. The voice on the other end belonged to Colonel Raymond Flynn, his commanding officer, but the tone was unlike anything Benjamin had heard in 15 years of black operations. "Parker, we have a problem. A big one." Benjamin set down his equipment maintenance kit in the cramped safe house outside Prague. Through the reinforced window, snow fell on the cobblestone streets below. "What kind of problem, sir?" "The kind that has the NSA, CIA, and half the Pentagon in full panic mode. Your laptop surfaced in a garage sale in Riverside, California yesterday." The words hit Benjamin like ice water. That laptop contained operational files from 3 classified missions spanning the last decade. Missions that officially never happened. Ghost operations in Syria, extraction details from Somalia, and most damaging of all, the complete dossier on Operation Silent Thunder, a deep-cover assassination program that could topple governments if exposed. "That's impossible, sir. My wife knows." "Your wife sold it to a college kid for $80, Parker. The kid tried to wipe the drive and triggered our embedded security protocols. Within 2 hours, we had NSA cyber crimes units surrounding your house." Benjamin's jaw clenched. Donna knew about his work, knew the laptop was classified. They'd had the conversation a dozen times about never touching his equipment. "Where's my wife now?" "Safe house in Nevada. She's cooperative, but confused. Keeps saying she thought it was just training documents." 24 hours later, Benjamin sat across from Donna Parker in a sterile interrogation room at a black site facility. His wife of 12 years looked smaller somehow, her auburn hair unkempt, her green eyes red from crying. Between them sat a steel table and the remnants of a marriage built on carefully constructed lies. "Ben, I'm so sorry," Donna whispered, reaching across the table. "I didn't know. You never told me it was that important." Benjamin didn't take her hand. His dark eyes, cold as winter steel, studied her face with the same analytical precision he'd used on enemy combatants. "I told you never to touch my equipment. Ever. I know, but we needed the money for the mortgage, and I thought." "You thought wrong." Benjamin leaned back, his muscular frame filling the chair. At 6'2" with graying temples and scars hidden beneath his uniform, he looked every inch the dangerous man he was. "Tell me about Grant Copeland." Donna's face went pale. "How do you?" "Answer the question." Her hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. He's been helping me with the yard work while you're gone. The fence repairs, cleaning the gutters. For 3 months." Benjamin's voice carried no emotion. 3 months of yard work that included him spending the night twice a week. Donna's composure cracked. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized the extent of Benjamin's knowledge. "It wasn't supposed to happen. He was just there when I needed someone, and you're always gone, and I was lonely. And you thought my laptop would help fund your new relationship? No. God, no. I swear. Ben, I didn't know what was on there. Grant suggested selling some old electronics to help with bills, and I just grabbed the first thing I saw in your office." Benjamin stood slowly, his presence filling the small room. "Grant suggested it." The implications hung in the air between them. Benjamin had spent too many years in intelligence to believe in coincidences. A helpful neighbor who seduces a lonely military wife and then suggests selling classified equipment? The pattern was textbook foreign intelligence recruitment. "Tell me everything about Grant Copeland," Benjamin said, his voice carrying the same tone he'd used with captured enemy operatives. "And Donna? Don't lie to me again. You won't like what happens if you do." Chapter 2. The Investigation. The NSA briefing room buzzed with tension as Benjamin reviewed Grant Copeland's file. Agent Elena Chun, a sharp-eyed cybersecurity specialist, pulled up surveillance photos on the main screen. Grant Copeland, 34, divorced, works as a freelance IT consultant, Elena reported. "Moved to your neighborhood 6 months ago. Clean background check, but here's where it gets interesting." The screen showed financial records. "He's been making cash deposits every 2 weeks. Always under the reporting threshold, but consistent. No clear source of income to justify the amounts." Colonel Flynn leaned forward. "We ran his digital footprint. The man's a ghost before last year. New identity, new credit history, even new dental records. Benjamin studied the surveillance photos of Grant, tall, lean, with dirty blonde hair and what Donna probably found to be a charming smile. In the photos, he looked like any suburban handyman. But Benjamin noticed details others missed. The way Grant positioned himself to watch approaches, how he kept his dominant hand free, the subtle bulge of a concealed weapon. He's not IT, Benjamin said flatly. He's military or intelligence. Probably foreign. Agent Andre Skill, the operation's psychological profiler, nodded. We think he's been surveilling you for months. Your deployment schedule, your habits, your wife's vulnerabilities. The question is, who's he working for? Flynn asked. Benjamin was already 3 steps ahead. He'd made enemies in a dozen countries during his black operations career. The Kozlov syndicate in Ukraine had put a bounty on his head after Operation Silent Thunder eliminated their arms-dealing network. The remains of the Damascus cell still wanted revenge for their destroyed chemical weapons facility. Run his biometrics against the Kozlov database, Benjamin instructed, and cross-reference with anyone who might have been in Damascus between 2019 and 2021. Already in progress, Elena confirmed. But Benjamin, there's something else. Your wife wasn't randomly targeted. The screen shifted to show phone records. Donna received 17 calls from an unlisted number in the 3 weeks before the laptop sale. Each call lasted exactly 90 seconds. Benjamin's expression didn't change, but Elena recognized the deadly stillness that had made him legendary in special operations. She was coached. Someone told her exactly what to do and when to do it. The calls came from a burner phone purchased in Las Vegas, Gil added. Paid for with cash. But we tracked the phone's movement pattern. It was in your neighborhood during your last leave. The pieces clicked into place in Benjamin's mind. Grant wasn't just sleeping with his wife. He was running her as an asset. The affair was cover for espionage, and Donna was either a willing participant or a perfectly manipulated pawn. I want to talk to her again, Benjamin said. Alone. Benjamin, Flynn warned, she's still your wife. There are protocols. She's a security breach. Benjamin cut him off. And security breaches get handled. My way. That evening, Benjamin returned to the interrogation room where Donna waited. This time, he brought a tablet loaded with evidence. Photos of Grant entering and leaving their house. Records of the mysterious phone calls. Financial data showing the cash deposits. 17 phone calls, Donna. Benjamin slid the tablet across the table. 90 seconds each. Very professional. Very precise. Donna stared at the evidence, her face cycling through confusion, recognition, and finally, terror. I don't understand. Grant said those were just customer service calls about our insurance. Grant said a lot of things, didn't he? Benjamin leaned forward. Tell me about the phone calls. What did the voice sound like? Foreign. Accent. Maybe Russian or something. He said he was calling about our policy, that there were benefits I didn't know about. Donna's voice became smaller. He asked about your schedule, your work, what kind of computer you used. Benjamin felt the familiar cold rage building in his chest. Donna had been played, but she'd also made choices. She'd chosen to trust a stranger over her husband's explicit warnings. She'd chosen to betray their marriage vows. She'd chosen to sell classified materials. Did Grant ever ask you about my work directly? He was curious about what you did overseas. I told him it was just training exercises and consultation work. Donna looked up with desperate eyes. Ben, I swear I didn't know. If I had known, I never would have. But you did know about us, Benjamin said quietly. You knew you were cheating on me with a stranger who moved in next door right after my deployment. You knew you were lying to me every time we talked. You knew you were taking money from someone to sell my property. The words hit Donna like physical blows. She began to sob, but Benjamin felt no sympathy. He'd seen too many operations compromised by weakness. Too many good soldiers die because someone couldn't follow orders. Here's what's going to happen, Benjamin said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. You're going to help me find Grant. You're going to help me understand exactly who's been pulling your strings. And then you're going to disappear from my life forever. Ben, please. No. Benjamin stood. There's no forgiveness for this, Donna. Not for the betrayal, not for the security breach, not for any of it. You chose him over me. Chose lies over loyalty. Now you get to live with the consequences. As he walked toward the door, Donna called out desperately. What about our marriage? What about 12 years together? Benjamin paused without turning around. Those 12 years died the moment you decided I wasn't enough and my security clearance was worth $80. Chapter 3. The Hunter's Preparation. Grant Copeland's apartment was a study in operational security. When Benjamin and the tactical team breached the door at 0400 hours, they found exactly what he'd expected: multiple escape routes, a hidden safe containing 3 passports, and sophisticated surveillance equipment pointed at the Parker house 2 blocks away. "He's been watching your place for months," Agent Chin reported, scrolling through the surveillance footage on Grant's computer. "Every time you came home on leave, every time your wife left the house, every visitor you had." Benjamin examined the passports. Grant Morrison from Canada, George Kowalski from Poland, and finally, Grigory Kozlov from Ukraine. The last name made Benjamin's blood run cold. "Kozlov," Flynn muttered, reading over Benjamin's shoulder. "As in, Viktor Kozlov's nephew," Benjamin confirmed. "The arms dealer we eliminated in Operation Silent Thunder. This was never about random espionage. This was personal." The apartment revealed the scope of the operation. Financial records showed payments from a shell company in Kiev. Communication logs revealed contact with at least 6 other assets across military bases in California, Texas, and Virginia. Grant hadn't just been after Benjamin's laptop. He'd been building an entire spy network targeting special operations personnel. "He's been gone for 12 hours, Gil reported from the bedroom. "Left in a hurry, but tried to make it look planned. Clothes missing from the closet, but he left personal items that someone evacuating normally would take." Benjamin studied the surveillance setup. Multiple camera angles, sophisticated audio equipment, facial recognition software running on a dedicated server. "He didn't just seduce my wife for the laptop. He's been building a complete profile on me. My habits, my contacts, my operational patterns." Flynn activated his secure radio. "This is Code Black Protocol. All assets related to Operation Silent Thunder are now compromised. Initiate immediate protective measures for all personnel." But Benjamin was already thinking 3 moves ahead. Grant had vanished into the wind, probably with extraction assets already in place. Traditional law enforcement would never find him. The State Department would file diplomatic protests. The intelligence community would write reports and update security protocols. None of that would bring Benjamin the justice he wanted. "I need to see Donna again," Benjamin told Flynn. "And this time, I want complete operational authority." "Benjamin, you're too close to this. Let the professionals handle." "I am the professional." Benjamin's voice carried the quiet menace that had made enemy combatants talk in 3 different war zones. "Grant Kozlov made this personal when he turned my wife into an asset. He made it my operation when he stole classified materials that could get my men killed. And he sealed his fate when he thought he could disappear and live happily ever after." Flynn recognized the expression on Benjamin's face. He'd seen it before, right before Benjamin had single-handedly eliminated an entire terror cell in Mogadishu. "What do you need?" "Complete access to all surveillance data on Donna and Grant. Financial tracking authority. And most importantly," Benjamin's smile was colder than winter in Siberia, "I want them to think they got away with it." 6 hours later, Benjamin sat across from Donna in a different room, this one designed to look like a comfortable debriefing space rather than an interrogation chamber. Coffee, comfortable chairs, no recording equipment visible. "We found Grant's apartment," Benjamin said conversationally. "Turns out your boyfriend is actually Grigory Kozlov, a Ukrainian intelligence operative whose uncle I killed in Syria 3 years ago." Donna's face went white. "That's impossible. Grant's from Portland. He showed me pictures of his family, his ex-wife. All manufactured. Very professional work." Benjamin slid a tablet across the table, showing Grant's real identity. "He's been planning this operation for over a year. Moving into our neighborhood, studying my schedule, learning your vulnerabilities." "You're saying he never cared about me?" Donna's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm saying you were a means to an end. A way to get close to classified materials and compromise American operations." Benjamin leaned forward. "The question is, did you know?" "Know what?" "That's 17 phone calls from his handler. The precise timing of the laptop sale. The way you just happened to pick the most sensitive piece of equipment in the house." Benjamin's eyes never left her face. "Were you a victim, or were you a collaborator?" Donna stared at the evidence, her hands shaking. "I swear to God, Ben, I thought he loved me. I thought someone finally saw me as more than just a military wife waiting for her husband to come home. That's what they train operatives to make you feel. Benjamin's voice carried no sympathy. Grant is very good at his job. Unfortunately for him, I'm better at mine. What happens now? Benjamin stood, gathering the tablet. Now, you're going to help me find him. You're going to call him, tell him you're scared about the NSA investigation, and beg him to take you away from all this. And then, Benjamin's smile held no warmth. Then we're going to teach Grigory Kozlov why targeting American Special Operations personnel is a very bad idea. Chapter 4. The Bait. Donna's hands trembled as she held the untraceable phone Benjamin had given her. 3 days of preparation had led to this moment. Scripted conversations, emotional coaching, and psychological manipulation that would have impressed her former lover. Remember, Benjamin said, adjusting the recording equipment, you're terrified, desperate, and completely convinced that I've abandoned you. He needs to believe you're ready to run. Agent Chun monitored 3 different tracking systems, while Flynn coordinated with extraction teams positioned across the southwestern United States. They had one chance to draw Grant out of hiding, and it all depended on Donna's ability to convince a professional spy that she was a panicked amateur. He might not answer, Donna whispered. It's been 4 days since he vanished. He'll answer. Benjamin's certainty came from 15 years of understanding how enemy operatives thought. You're his asset. He's invested too much time and emotional manipulation to abandon you completely. Besides, he still needs to know what we've discovered. The phone rang twice before Grant's familiar voice answered. Donna? Jesus, I've been worried sick. Are you okay? Donna closed her eyes, channeling the genuine terror she'd felt for the past week. Grant, thank God. I don't know what to do. The government people, they're asking questions about you, about us. They know about the laptop. What kind of questions? Grant's voice sharpened, the concerned boyfriend replaced by something more professional. They showed me pictures of your apartment, your real name. They said you're some kind of spy. Donna let her voice break. They said you never loved me, that I was just part of some mission. Baby, listen to me. None of that matters now. What matters is getting you somewhere safe. Did they arrest you? No, but they're watching me. Ben, he said he never wants to see me again. He called me a traitor. Donna sobbed convincingly. I have nowhere to go, Grant. Everyone I thought I could trust has turned on me. Benjamin watched the real-time trace on Chen's screen. The call was bouncing through servers in 3 countries, but each redirect took precious milliseconds that their quantum tracking systems could exploit. Donna, I need you to listen very carefully, Grant said. There's a bus station in Bakersfield, about 2 hours from where you are. Can you get there? I think so. They said I couldn't leave town, but forget what they said. They're going to destroy your life to cover up their mistakes. Meet me at the Greyhound station tomorrow at 3 p.m. Bring only what you can carry, and for God's sake, don't tell anyone where you're going. Grant, I'm scared. What if this is all wrong? What if? Trust me, baby. Have I ever lied to you? The irony in Grant's voice was lost on Donna, but not on Benjamin. We're going to disappear together, start fresh somewhere they can't touch us. After Donna hung up, Benjamin studied the trace results. He's using a relay network, but the final signal originated from somewhere in the Mojave Desert. Probably a safe house. Bakersfield is a feint, Flynn observed. He'll grab her, then move to his real extraction point. Benjamin nodded. He's assuming we'll focus on the bus station. Classic misdirection. He turned to Chun. How long to get assets in place around every major transportation hub within a 300-mile radius? 6 hours, minimum. Too long. He'll move her twice before we can close the net. Benjamin studied the map on the main screen, his mind calculating routes, timing, and psychology. But Grant made one mistake. He still thinks this is about espionage. Isn't it? Gil asked. Benjamin's smile was predatory. No. This stopped being about national security the moment he thought he could manipulate my wife and steal my property. Now it's about making sure he understands the consequences of that choice. Flynn recognized the tone. Benjamin, whatever you're planning, is completely deniable. Benjamin gathered his gear. Officially, I'm taking emergency leave to deal with my divorce. What happens during that leave is a private matter between me and the man who destroyed my marriage. You're going rogue? I'm going hunting. Chapter 5. The Trap. The Mojave Desert stretched endlessly under the blazing sun as Benjamin positioned himself on a rocky outcrop overlooking the abandoned mining facility Grant had chosen for his safe house. Through high-powered binoculars, he could see the converted trailer that served as operational headquarters, the disguised antenna array, and the 3 escape vehicles positioned at strategic intervals. Professional setup, Benjamin acknowledged. But Grant had made the same mistake many foreign operatives made on American soil. He'd underestimated the home field advantage. Benjamin had spent 36 hours tracking Grant's support network. The shell company that paid his salary traced back to a currency exchange in Las Vegas. The currency exchange was owned by a naturalized citizen named Victor Chun, no relation to Agent Elena Chun, who had 3 previous arrests for weapons trafficking. Victor Chun operated out of a pawn shop that specialized in untraceable electronics and modified vehicles. More importantly, Victor Chun owed money to some very unpleasant people in Los Angeles. Benjamin's phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Agent Gill. Donna en route to Bakersfield. Grant took the bait. ETA to your location, 90 minutes. Time to set the final pieces in motion. Benjamin activated a secure satellite phone and dialed a number he'd memorized but hoped never to use. The voice that answered spoke with a thick Armenian accent. Parker, this is unexpected. Hello, Sarkis. I need a favor. American government favors are expensive. This isn't government business. This is personal. Benjamin watched the desert through his scope. Victor Chin owes you $40,000. I know where he's keeping his emergency cash. A pause. You have my attention. Chin's been laundering money for Ukrainian intelligence through his pawn shop. Tonight, he's moving a large cash shipment to pay off an operation that went bad. I can give you the exact location and timing. What do you want in return? Chin's computer files. All of them. And I want his operation shut down. Permanently. Consider it done. 3 hours later, as Donna's bus approached Bakersfield, Benjamin received confirmation that Victor Chin's pawn shop had been visited by some very angry creditors. Chin was in the hospital with 3 broken bones and a sudden desire to cooperate with federal authorities. His computer files were already being analyzed by Elena's cyber team. But the real prize was the intelligence those files contained. Detailed records of Grant's support network, safe house locations, extraction routes, and most damaging of all, the complete list of American military personnel Grant had been targeting. Benjamin's phone buzzed. Flynn's voice was tight with controlled anger. Jesus Christ, Benjamin. Chin's records show operations against 12 different special ops personnel. This is bigger than we thought. How much bigger? Senator Rebecca Downey's husband is on the list. So is General Tommy Barton's son. They're targeting families of anyone involved in classified operations. Benjamin felt the familiar cold rage building. This wasn't just personal revenge. It was systematic warfare against American special operations capacity. Grant and his uncle had been building an intelligence network designed to compromise the most sensitive military assets in the country. Where are you, Benjamin? About to close this operation permanently. The Bureau wants him alive for interrogation. The Bureau can interrogate his corpse. Benjamin disconnected and checked his gear one final time. Through the binoculars, he could see a vehicle approaching the safe house. Grant's distinctive form emerged from the driver's seat, scanning the desert with professional paranoia before entering the trailer. Benjamin smiled grimly. Grant's paranoia was justified, but it was already too late. Chapter 6. The Reckoning. Donna sat in the passenger seat of Grant's stolen SUV, her face pale with fear that was no longer entirely acting. The man beside her bore little resemblance to the charming handyman who had seduced her 6 months ago. Grant's face was cold, calculating, his eyes constantly scanning the desert for threats. Where are we going? Donna asked as they left the safe house behind. Somewhere safe, Grant replied absently, speaking into a satellite phone in rapid Ukrainian. Donna understood enough to catch words like extraction, compromised, and eliminate. The reality of her situation was finally sinking in. She wasn't Grant's girlfriend escaping together. She was a liability being transported for disposal. 20 miles behind them, Benjamin tracked their movement through the GPS beacon he'd planted on Grant's vehicle during the 2 hours the safe house had been empty. His own vehicle, a modified tactical truck acquired through unofficial channels, ate up the desert miles as he closed the distance. The first phase of Benjamin's plan had worked perfectly. Victor Chin's forced cooperation had revealed not just Grant's immediate support network, but the entire Kozlov operation in the United States. Federal agents were simultaneously raiding 6 locations across 3 states, rolling up a spy network that had taken 2 years to establish. But Benjamin's personal mission was just beginning. Grant's voice on the intercepted radio traffic grew more urgent as they approached the extraction point, a small airfield 40 miles from the Mexican border. According to Chin's files, a chartered plane would take them to a cargo ship in international waters, then on to Ukraine where Grant would be debriefed and Donna would simply vanish. Benjamin had other plans. The first indication Grant had that something was wrong came when the airfield came into view. Instead of the waiting aircraft, they found only burning wreckage and the distinctive markers of a professional demolition job. Bozhe moi, Grant cursed in Ukrainian, slamming on the brakes. Donna grabbed the dashboard as the SUV skidded to a halt. What happened? Grant was already reversing, but Benjamin's truck appeared from behind a small rise, blocking their retreat. Grant reached for his weapon, but found himself staring down the barrel of Benjamin's rifle through the windshield. Step out of the vehicle. Benjamin's voice carried clearly across the desert air. Hands visible. Move slowly. Grant's training took over. He could see Benjamin's position, assess the tactical situation, calculate odds. What he couldn't see were the claymore mines Benjamin had positioned around the airfield's perimeter during the previous night's preparation. "You're American military," Grant called out in accented English. "There are laws, protocols. You cannot simply execute prisoners." "You're right," Benjamin replied, moving closer while maintaining his sight picture. "There are laws about executing prisoners. Fortunately, you're not a prisoner. You're an enemy combatant who targeted American assets on American soil." Grant's eyes darted to the destroyed plane, the remote location, the complete absence of any other authority. He'd studied Benjamin Parker's file extensively, but that research had focused on his operational history overseas. He'd underestimated what 15 years of black operations had done to Benjamin's relationship with conventional moral boundaries. "What do you want?" Grant asked. "I want you to understand something," Benjamin said, still advancing. "You thought you were running a simple espionage operation. Seduce the lonely wife, steal the classified materials, disappear into the wind. Clean, professional, routine." Grant said nothing, his mind racing through escape scenarios. The nearest cover was 30 yards away, too far to reach before Benjamin could fire. The SUV's engine was still running, but Benjamin's position made a vehicular escape impossible. "But you made it personal," Benjamin continued. "You didn't just steal classified materials, you destroyed my marriage. You didn't just compromise national security, you turned my wife into a weapon against me. And then you thought you could simply walk away." "Your wife made her own choices," Grant said desperately. "I never forced. You manipulated a lonely woman using professional psychological techniques." Benjamin cut him off. "You identified her vulnerabilities, exploited her emotional needs, and turned her love into a weapon. That's not seduction, Grigory. That's warfare." The use of his real name told Grant that Benjamin knew everything. The Kozlov connection, the revenge motive, the larger operation, all of it had been compromised. "You want revenge for your uncle Victor," Benjamin said. "I understand that. Family loyalty is important. But you chose the wrong target and the wrong method." Benjamin was now close enough that Grant could see his eyes, cold, calculating, completely without mercy. This wasn't arrest or interrogation. This was execution. "Any last words for your uncle when you see him?" Grant made his move, diving toward the SUV while drawing his sidearm. He almost made it. The shot echoed across the desert, and Grant Copeland, Grigory Kozlov, collapsed in the sand beside the vehicle that was supposed to carry him to freedom. Benjamin walked over to Donna, who sat frozen in the passenger seat, staring at Grant's motionless form. "Is he?" she whispered. "Yes." Benjamin opened the passenger door. "Get out." Donna stumbled from the vehicle, her legs shaking. "Ben, I swear I didn't know. I didn't know what he really was, what he was planning." Benjamin studied his wife's face for a long moment. 12 years of marriage, and he could still read every expression, every tell that indicated truth or deception. Donna was many things, naive, lonely, unfaithful, but she wasn't a traitor. She'd been manipulated by a professional who specialized in exactly that kind of psychological warfare. It didn't matter. I believe you, Benjamin said finally. But belief and forgiveness are different things. What happens now? Benjamin handed her a set of car keys. There's a vehicle waiting 5 miles north. Drive to Phoenix. Take a commercial flight to wherever you want to start over. There's an account set up with enough money to last a year if you're careful. And after that, you disappear from my life forever. Change your name if you want. Start fresh. Find someone who doesn't have enemies willing to use you as a weapon. Benjamin's voice carried no emotion. But if I ever see you again, if you ever contact me or anyone in my professional circle, I'll treat you as a security risk. Donna's face crumpled. Ben, please. We can work through this. I know I made mistakes, but we can. No. Benjamin's finality cut through her desperation. You chose him over me. You chose lies over loyalty. You chose to put my men at risk for $80 and a fake romance. Those aren't mistakes, Donna. Those are character revelations. As Donna walked into the desert toward her uncertain future, Benjamin's satellite phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Flynn. All Kozlov assets neutralized. Network eliminated. Operation complete. Benjamin typed back. Confirmed. Personal business concluded. Returning to duty. He looked once more at Grant's body, then at the trail of footprints marking Donna's departure. 12 years of marriage, ended in a desert where no one would ever find the physical evidence. But the emotional evidence would last forever. Chapter 7. The Network Falls. 6 months after the desert confrontation, Benjamin sat in a secure briefing room at Fort Bragg, reviewing the final intelligence report on Operation Kozlov Network. Agent Elena Chun presented the findings to a room full of special operations commanders and intelligence officials. Final tally: 17 Ukrainian intelligence assets neutralized across 7 states, Chun reported. 43 compromised American personnel identified and cleared. The network had been operational for 3 years before we detected it. General Tommy Barton leaned forward. What was their endgame? Systematic compromise of American special operations capacity, Flynn answered. They weren't just stealing intelligence. They were building comprehensive profiles for targeted assassinations. Every asset they turned gave them access to operational schedules, deployment patterns, family vulnerabilities. Benjamin studied the organizational chart on the main screen. Grant's operation had been just one tentacle of a larger network that stretched from California to Virginia. The Kozlov family had been playing a long game, seeking revenge not just against Benjamin, but against the entire special operations community that had dismantled their arms-dealing empire. What about collateral damage? Asked Colonel Martin Hodges. Families who were compromised? Extensive counseling and relocation were necessary, Chun replied. 17 marriages ended in divorce. For military personnel requested transfer to conventional units. The psychological warfare component of this operation was devastatingly effective. Benjamin felt no satisfaction in the numbers. Each ruined marriage represented a family destroyed, children traumatized, careers derailed. The Kozlovs had understood that the most effective way to damage American special operations wasn't through direct military action. It was through destroying the personal lives of the operators themselves. Parker, General Barton addressed Benjamin directly. Your resolution of the Grigory Kozlov situation. Any concerns about blowback? Benjamin met the general's gaze steadily. Grigory Kozlov died in a vehicle accident while attempting to flee federal authorities. The official report has been filed and confirmed by the State Department. The room understood. Sometimes official reports reflected operational necessities rather than literal truth, and sometimes those necessities included ensuring that foreign operatives who targeted American families didn't live to repeat the offense. What about your personal situation? Flynn asked quietly. Resolved. Benjamin's tone closed off further discussion. The briefing concluded with assignments for follow-up operations. 3 more Kozlov family members had been identified in Eastern Europe. 2 arms dealers with Kozlov connections were under surveillance in Germany. The network was dead, but the vendetta might continue. As the room emptied, Flynn approached Benjamin. You know this isn't over. The Kozlov family won't let this go unanswered. Let them come, Benjamin replied, gathering his files. But they should understand, I don't leave loose ends. Chapter 8. Ghosts and Consequences. The letter arrived at Benjamin's new apartment in Virginia Beach on a Tuesday morning, delivered through a chain of intermediaries that had taken 6 weeks to trace back to its origin. Inside the plain envelope was a single photograph. Benjamin leaving the Phoenix airport terminal, taken from a surveillance camera 3 days after Grigori's death. On the back, someone had written in precise handwriting, "We know what you did. Uncle Victor sends his regards." Benjamin studied the photograph with professional detachment. The quality was good, the angle showed clear facial recognition, and the timestamp proved his presence in Phoenix during the official window when Grigori had supposedly died in a car accident near Las Vegas. Someone in the Kozlov family had been paying attention. Benjamin activated a secure line to Agent Chen. "I need a full workup on Kozlov family members still active. Focus on anyone with intelligence training or vendetta motivation." "Already in progress," Chen replied. "We've identified 3 possibilities. Anya Kozlov, Victor's daughter, trained by SVR. Dmitry Kozlov, Victor's brother, former Spetsnaz. And Pavel Kozlov, Victor's son, current location unknown. Current threat assessment. Anya is in Moscow, under SVR protection. Dmitry is officially dead as of 2 years ago, but that's probably cover identity work. Pavel." Chen paused. Pavel is the wild card. 28 years old, trained by both SVR and GRU, specializes in deep cover assassination operations. Benjamin felt the familiar cold focus settling over him. "Send me everything you have on Pavel." That evening, Benjamin's apartment building's security system logged an anomaly, a brief power fluctuation at 11:47 p.m. that lasted exactly 14 seconds. Security cameras experienced a synchronized glitch. Motion sensors reported a momentary blind spot in the stairwell. When Benjamin returned from his evening run, he found his apartment exactly as he'd left it, except for the family photograph that had been moved 3 inches to the left on his desk. A professional calling card, designed to demonstrate capability without triggering immediate defensive measures. Benjamin smiled grimly. Pavel Kozlov was good, but he'd made a critical error. He'd assumed Benjamin lived like a civilian, unaware of surveillance, unprotected by the paranoid security measures that 15 years of black operations had made instinctive. Benjamin activated his home security system and reviewed the stored data. The power fluctuation had indeed masked Pavel's entry, but Benjamin's backup systems, the ones that ran on independent power and recorded to off-site storage, had captured everything. Pavel Kozlov was 28, exactly as Chun had reported. Tall, lean, with the pale complexion of someone who spent too much time indoors. He moved like a predator, with the fluid economy of motion that marked elite military training. Most importantly, he'd spent 12 minutes in Benjamin's apartment, long enough to plant surveillance devices or weapons. Benjamin began a methodical sweep of his living space. 3 listening devices, 2 hidden cameras, and 1 small explosive charge attached to his coffee maker, designed to look like an accident when triggered remotely. Amateur work, Benjamin assessed. Pavel was skilled, but he was also angry, and anger made professionals sloppy. Benjamin left the surveillance devices in place but disabled the explosive. If Pavel wanted to watch and listen, Benjamin would give him something interesting to observe. Over the next 3 days, Benjamin maintained his normal routine while feeding false intelligence through the compromised devices. He scheduled fictional meetings, discussed non-existent operations, and gradually built the impression of a man growing paranoid and isolated. On Thursday evening, Benjamin's phone conversation with a fictional psychologist was particularly revealing. "The dreams are getting worse, Dr. Morrison. I keep seeing Grigori's face when I shot him. I know it was necessary, but the guilt. I don't know how much longer I can carry this." That night, Pavel took the bait. Benjamin was waiting in the apartment across the hall, borrowed from a neighbor who was conveniently visiting family in Ohio, when Pavel returned for his assassination attempt. Through thermal imaging, Benjamin watched Pavel disable the locks, avoid the motion sensors, and position himself for a clean kill shot when Benjamin allegedly returned from his evening jog. Benjamin entered his own apartment through the fire escape window, moving silent as shadow through rooms he'd mapped in complete darkness. Pavel never heard him coming. "Pavel Kozlov," Benjamin said quietly, pressing his sidearm against the back of Pavel's head. "We need to talk." Chapter 9, The Final Lesson. Pavel Kozlov sat zip-tied to a chair in Benjamin's living room, blood trickling from his nose where Benjamin's elbow had connected during the takedown. His expensive surveillance equipment lay scattered across the coffee table, tools of a trade he'd learned from the best intelligence services in the world. "You're very good," Benjamin said conversationally, examining Pavel's modified pistol. Silent takedown plan, clean escape route, even brought equipment to stage a realistic suicide. "Your uncle would be proud." Pavel's English was accented but precise. "My uncle was a businessman. You murdered him for doing business." "Your uncle was an arms dealer who sold chemical weapons to terrorists," Benjamin corrected. "I eliminated him because he was a threat to American interests. Nothing personal." "And my cousin Grigory?" Benjamin's expression didn't change. "Grigory made it personal when he targeted my family. He got exactly what he deserved." Pavel tested his bonds, found them professionally secured, and settled back in the chair. "So what now? Another convenient accident? Another official report that covers your crimes?" "That depends," Benjamin said, taking a seat across from Pavel. "Do you understand why you lost?" Pavel's eyes flashed with anger. "I haven't lost. This is just. You lost the moment you walked into this apartment." Benjamin cut him off. "But more importantly, you lost the moment your family decided that revenge was more important than intelligence." Benjamin activated his tablet, showing Pavel surveillance footage from the past week. "You've been watching me for 6 days. Very thorough, very professional. But you never asked yourself the right question, which is, if I could eliminate Grigory in the middle of a federal operation, if I could make him vanish without leaving evidence, if I could destroy an entire spy network that took 3 years to build, what makes you think you're the first person to try revenge?" The tablet screen shifted to show photographs, 3 men and 1 woman, all bearing family resemblances to Pavel, all marked with red X's across their faces. Dmitry Kozlov, found dead in Prague 6 weeks ago. Officially a heart attack. Anya Kozlov, car accident in Berlin 4 weeks ago. Sergei Kozlov, Victor's brother-in-law, disappeared entirely 3 weeks ago. Benjamin set down the tablet. "You're the last one, Pavel." Pavel stared at the photographs, his face cycling through disbelief, recognition, and finally, terror. "You've been hunting us." "I've been cleaning house," Benjamin corrected. "Your family had a choice after Grigory's death. You could have accepted the loss, disappeared into whatever holes you came from, and lived the rest of your lives in obscurity. Instead, you chose to make this a blood feud. We chose family honor. You chose suicide." Benjamin's voice carried the flat certainty of absolute conviction. "Did you really think I'd sit passively while the Kozlov family planned my assassination? Did you think I'd wait for you to target my colleagues, my friends, anyone else who'd been involved in dismantling your uncle's operation?" Pavel was beginning to understand the scope of what he'd walked into. This wasn't a simple revenge killing. This was systematic eradication. "The moment Grigory targeted my wife, this stopped being about espionage and became about survival," Benjamin continued. "Not just my survival. The survival of every special operations asset who might be targeted by your family's need for vengeance. You can't kill us all. I already have." Benjamin stood, checking his watch. "You're the last living member of the Kozlov bloodline with both the motivation and capability to continue this vendetta. After tonight, the threat ends permanently." Pavel struggled against his restraints, but Benjamin's knots were as professional as everything else about him. "You're no better than us. You're a murderer hiding behind patriotic justification." "Maybe," Benjamin agreed. "But I'm a murderer who wins. Your uncle learned that. Grigory learned that. Your cousins learned that. And now you're learning that." Benjamin walked to the window, looking out at the Virginia Beach coastline. "Do you want to know the real difference between your family and me, Pavel? Tell me." You let emotion cloud your judgment. Victor got greedy and expanded into chemical weapons that attracted American attention. Grigory got personal and targeted families instead of just stealing intelligence. You got angry and came after me for revenge instead of cutting your losses. Benjamin turned back to Pavel. "I don't get emotional. I don't get greedy. I don't get personal. I identify threats and eliminate them with maximum efficiency and minimum collateral damage." "What about your wife?" "That wasn't emotional." For the first time, Pavel saw something flicker in Benjamin's eyes. Donna was collateral damage in Grigory's operation. She made choices that put her in the crossfire. I eliminated the threat and removed the liability. Clean, professional, final. You feel nothing for her betrayal? Benjamin considered the question for a long moment. I feel nothing for her, period. She stopped being my wife the moment she chose to betray me. After that, she was just another security risk to be managed. Pavel realized he was looking at something beyond simple professionalism. Benjamin Parker had systematically eliminated every trace of emotional vulnerability that could be used against him. He'd become something that couldn't be manipulated, threatened, or deterred by conventional means. You're a monster, Pavel whispered. I'm a survivor, Benjamin corrected. And more importantly, I'm the last man standing in a war your family started but couldn't finish. Benjamin checked his equipment one final time. Any last words for your uncle when you see him? Pavel straightened in his chair, finding some final reserve of family pride. Tell him we died with honor. I'll tell him you died exactly as stupidly as the rest of your family, Benjamin replied. The shot was clean, professional, and final. 12 hours later, the official report would list Pavel Kozlov's death as a suicide, brought on by grief over his cousin's accidental death and the destruction of his family's business empire. The note, written in Pavel's own handwriting, obtained from earlier surveillance, expressed remorse for his family's involvement in international arms dealing and a desire to end the cycle of violence. Benjamin read the report while sitting in Colonel Flynn's office, officially debriefing on the successful conclusion of the Kozlov investigation. How do you feel about it being over? Flynn asked. Benjamin considered the question seriously. Grigory was dead. Donna was somewhere in the American Southwest, living under a new identity with enough money to start fresh. The entire Kozlov family line had been terminated. The spy network that had targeted American Special Operations personnel was eliminated. I don't feel anything, Benjamin said finally. The threat has been neutralized. The mission is complete. Flynn studied Benjamin's face, looking for some trace of the man who'd been married for 12 years, who'd once laughed at Christmas parties and sent flowers to his wife on anniversaries. He found nothing. What's next for you? Benjamin gathered his files, already thinking about the new assignment folder waiting on his desk. There were other threats, other enemies, other operations that required a man who could eliminate targets without hesitation or regret. Back to work, Benjamin said simply. There's always another mission. As he walked out of Flynn's office, Benjamin reflected on the past 8 months. He'd lost a wife, gained enemies, and ended lives. The old Benjamin Parker, the man who'd believed in marriage vows and family loyalty, was as dead as the Kozlov family. What remained was something harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. Something that would never again make the mistake of trusting emotion over strategy, love over security, or mercy over mission completion. Benjamin Parker, the husband, was gone forever. What remained was exactly what his enemies had created, a predator with no vulnerabilities, no weaknesses, and no intention of ever again allowing personal connections to compromise operational effectiveness. In the end, the Kozlov family had gotten their revenge. They'd just destroyed the wrong man to achieve it. 3 years later, Benjamin Parker stood in a similar briefing room, reviewing intelligence on a new threat. A terrorist cell in Southeast Asia had been targeting American diplomatic facilities, using sophisticated intelligence-gathering techniques that suggested state sponsorship. Agent Elena Chun, now section chief, presented the operational profile. The cell leader is highly trained, probably former military or intelligence. They've shown particular interest in identifying American assets with families. Benjamin studied the photographs without emotion. Another enemy, another threat, another problem to be solved with precision and finality. What do we know about their operational pattern? They prefer psychological warfare over direct confrontation, targeting families, exploiting personal relationships, using emotional manipulation to compromise their targets. Benjamin's expression didn't change. Effective technique. Sir, nothing. Benjamin closed the file. When do we deploy? As Chin outlined the mission timeline, Benjamin thought briefly about Donna. He'd received one report, 18 months ago, that she'd married an insurance salesman in Colorado. She'd taken his name, started a new life, apparently found the stability she'd claimed to want. He felt nothing about the news. No anger, no regret, no satisfaction. She was simply irrelevant data about a terminated operation. Any questions, sir? Chin asked. Benjamin stood, already planning the first phase of the new mission. No questions. Let's go to work. Outside the briefing room, new intelligence officers traded stories about Benjamin Parker's legendary efficiency. They spoke of perfect mission records, zero operational compromises, and an almost supernatural ability to predict and neutralize enemy actions. None of them knew about Donna or the Kozlov family. None of them understood that they were working with a man who'd systematically eliminated every potential vulnerability from his psychological profile. They saw only what remained. The perfect special operations asset, immune to compromise, incapable of hesitation, and absolutely ruthless in protecting American interests. Benjamin Parker walked down the corridor toward his next mission, leaving no trace of the man who'd once sent flowers on anniversaries and believed that love could survive anything. That man was dead, buried in a desert alongside Grant Copeland and any possibility of redemption. What remained was exactly what America's enemies deserved: a predator who would never again make the mistake of having anything left to lose. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.